Every once in a while, a movie catches the imagination of the nation. I'm curious, how many people here have seen the movie Avatar already? All right, quite a lot. Well, don't worry. If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but I recommend that you see it while it's still in the theaters, and it's not one that you want to wait till it's on DVD. It's quite spectacular. Now, the movie involves a classic battle between those who see nature and all creation as sacred and those who value money and material wealth more than nature. The movie takes place in the future on an enchanted planet called Pandora, where the inhabitants believe that everything is infused with the Spirit of God, which they call Ewa. Now, unfortunately, at this point in the future, humans have destroyed everything green on Earth. So now we're going to other planets to harvest their resources. In the movie, a human corporation has set up on Pandora to exploit a natural resource that can be used back on Earth as energy, and so, of course, it is worth a lot of money back here. The native inhabitants of Pandora try to stop the devastation of their planet and its sacred plants and animals by the Earthlings, and soon a war breaks out. As we heard earlier, the term avatar comes from the Hindu religion. It's a Sanskrit term meaning descent. An avatar is a manifestation of the essence of God on earth. Now, for Hindus, God comes down to earth and takes various forms in various times and places and eras. So for Hindus, Jesus is an avatar. Jesus is a manifestation or incarnation of God on earth. The difference that they have with Christians is that for Hindus, Jesus is an incarnation of God, not the one and only incarnation of God. And that's what I want to talk about today. How, if at all, does God or Spirit manifest on the earth and in our lives? Now, I realize that for a lot of people today, the entire idea of God seems outdated and old-fashioned, false, or foolish. So before we discuss how God might manifest in our lives, might become real in our lives, let's talk a bit about what we mean by God. I'm reminded of another popular movie from the 90s called The Color Purple. How many people saw The Color Purple? Just curious, okay. All right, or read the book. It's based on a Pulitzer Prize-winning book by author Alice Walker. One of my favorite scenes in The Color Purple is when the character named Celie, who has been abused for most of her life, is talking to her new friend, Shug, about God. Now, Alice Walker wrote this in the dialect of a poor, uneducated, young, southern black woman, so I'm not sure I really have the chops to pull off the reading here, but I'm going to do my best if you'll bear with me because it is brilliant. There's a reason that she won the Pulitzer Prize and the National Book Award and the rest. It begins with Shug asking her friend, "Tell me what your God looks like, Celie." "Oh, no, I'm too ashamed. Nobody ever asked me this before, so I'm sort of took by surprise. Besides, when I think about it, it don't quite seem right. But it's all I got." Okay, Celie says. "He big and old and tall and gray-bearded and white. He wears white robes and go barefooted." "Blue eyes?" Shug asked. "Sort of bluish-gray. Cool, big though, white lashes." Shug laughed. "Why you laugh?" I asked. "I don't think it's so funny. What you expect him to look like?" Then Shug told me this old white man is the same God she used to see when she prayed. "If you wait to find God in church, Celie, that's who's bound to show up, because that's where he lives." "How come?" I asked. "Because that's the one that's in the white folks' white Bible." "Shug," I say. "God wrote the Bible. White folks had nothing to do with it." "Well, how come he looked just like them then?" she says. "Only bigger and a heap more hair." How come the Bible, just like everything else they make, all about them doing one thing and another, and all the colored folks doing is getting cursed? Well, I never thought about that. Ain't no way to read the Bible and not think God's white, Shug says. Then she sighs. When I found out I thought God was white and a man, I lost interest. Now, did you ever imagine the God of the Bible as an old, white, bearded man, barefoot in a long, white robe? You don't have to raise your hand for that one. Sort of Zeus meets Charlton Heston. Now, most people I've talked to have at least at some time in their life had that image of God. Because, I mean, let's face it, that's the Michelangelo Sistine Chapel image of God, and it's the fourth grade Sunday school image of God for most people. But that image is only meant to be a stepping stone to help children in particular and young people conceive of a mystery that's beyond our understanding. Now, my goal this morning is to offer a notion of God that even an atheist can love. Now, this means a God that's neither male nor white nor anthropomorphic. It means a notion of God that is consistent with and credible in light of scientific knowledge. A God that's as lovable and personable as Jesus, and as mind-blowing as the galaxies that we marvel at in the night sky. That means that it has to be a God that Freud would not deem a childish fairy tale for ignorant people. It cannot be a God that Karl Marx would reject as a tool of the wealthy and powerful, used as an opiate to keep people poor and oppressed. And it cannot be a God that the philosophy of Nietzsche would pronounce is dead. It's not a Santa Claus God that watches over us, keeping tabs on whether we've been naughty or nice. It's not a God that ordered the Israelites to murder other tribes as they made their way to Canaan. It's not a God that instructs people to kill other people. It's not a God that does magic tricks and miracles to convince people to believe. And it's definitely not a God that thinks that women should not speak in church. Right, Deborah? If it's a God worthy of our devotion and our belief and our songs, it must embody the love that is the source of all love. It must be a well from which anyone at any time can draw comfort and strength. Here's how Alice Walker describes it in The Color Purple. Here's the thing I believe, said Shug. God is inside you and everybody else. You come into the world with God. But only them that search for God inside find it. And sometimes it just manifests itself even if you're not looking or don't know what you're looking for. It, Seeley says? Yeah, it. God ain't a he or a she, but a it. But what do it look like, Seeley asked. Don't look like nothing, Shug say. It ain't a picture show. It ain't something you can look at apart from anything else, including yourself. I believe God is everything, says Shug. Everything that is or was or ever will be. And when you can feel that and be happy to feel that, you've found God.